Okay, warm greetings and welcome to the Step 4 Academic Dialogue. In this stage, we will present the theory analysis report developed during the phase 2 of the course. We are group 137, composed of Yuliana, Milena, Huertas, Grace, Stephani, Ospina, Lara, and Camila, Andrea, Cortés, Puente. Since the previous phase, we had work based on the inbuilt session number 5, level B1, with the topic of past participle, in which we observe an educational deficiency or problem in the class corresponding to learning anxiety and lack of confidence when speaking English. Based on this analysis, we identified and compared several language acquisition approaches that were directly related to the problem identified among them. We highlighted three main theories. The first one, behaviorism by Skinner, monitor model by Stephen Krashen, and sociocultural theory by Lev Vygotsky. Today, we will present each of these approaches to language acquisition, and then we will be answering three questions individually for each of us, in which we will propose strategies to mitigate or address this problem. The first one is Juliana. Go ahead, Juliana.
In this slide, I'm going to talk about Skinner, which explains learning as a process based on repetition and reinforcement. According to Skinner, people learn a language when they practice a structure many times and receive immediately feedback. For example, when the teacher corrects or phrases them. So, if the student says a correct sentence, that behavior is reinforced, and if they make a mistake, it is correct, so it doesn't become a habit. This is very noticeable in English learning because when we repeat vocabulary or practice common phrases several times, the brain gradually turns it into something automatic. This is that is where the teacher role in the classroom is so important. The teachers must create activities that involve constant practice, such as short exercise repetitions, quick fire question games, or participatory activities. In conclusion, Skinner helps us understand that frequent practice and correction help improve students' pronunciation, grammar, and confidence. I will answer the following question. First question, what innovative activity would you propose to address the problem? To address this problem, I was propose an activity that could be called short plays in English, which will involve organizing, organizing a short, simple, and relaxing scenes where students can practice without fear or exercise pressure, since they will be acting rather than speaking formally in front of everyone. In this sense, they call order food at restaurants, buy clothes, ask for direction, or introduce themselves in an interview. The second question is with what digital tools or resources would you use? Based on the activity mentioned above, I will use Kahoot or quizzes to practice vocabulary before the sense to reduce anxiety while playing. Duolingo will also be useful for practicing pronunciation. And the last question is how will you assess the impact of this activity on learning? For this, I will assess the impact with pre and post activity survey to measure anxiety and confidence level. It will all be helpful for the teacher to observe students' participation in each sense to evaluate fluency, participation, pronunciation, and confidence when speaking. Thank you.
Okay. Seguiría de me. Okay.
I
According to Stephen Krashen's monitor model, language acquisition occurs primarily through exposure to comprehensible input, which is a language that learners can understand and that is slightly above their current level, known as I plus 1. In this model, comprehension must come before production, since output emerges naturally once learners have internalized enough input. Krashen also introduced the concept of the effective filter, which suggests that factors such as anxiety, confusion, and lack of confidence can block the language acquisition. Therefore, is it essential for teachers to provide clear explanation examples and contextualized input before asking students to actively produce language. Regarding the class, I observed it was a grammar lesson focused on the past participle verbs. The teacher's objective was for students to recognize and differentiate regular and irregular verbs in the past. However, the teacher didn't explain the difference between these verbs or how they are formed. Instead, students were immediately asked to participate in an evaluate game based on activity where they had to say aloud the past participle form or of infinitive verbs shown on the screen. As a result, many students appear confused and unsure, showing that without prior comprehensible input, output doesn't effectively support language acquisition. Okay, and now I'm going to answer the three individual questions. For the A questions, what innovative English learning activity would you propose to address the problem? I think I would propose a guided input and gradual output activity to teach past participle. First, the students would be exposed to contextualized examples of regular and irregular verbs using images, short sentences, and audio. Then they would complete a recognition task such as sorting verbs by type. Finally, students would engage in a short communicative activity like completing a story of sharing experiences, allowing output to emerge naturally from prior input. For the question B, what digital tools or resources would you use for this activity? I would use digital tools that support comprehensible input, such as Genially or Canva to present visual examples, WordWalt or quizzes for low pressure recognition activities, and you wish are short videos to expose students to real contextual use of verbs. These tools help with understanding before requiring output and help lower students' anxiety. And the last one, how would you assess the impact of this activity on language learning? I would assess the impact of the activity through classroom observation, comparing students' participation and confidence before and after the activity. I will also use a short diagnostic task, such as identifying or using past simple participles, sorry, and gather students' feedback on their level of understanding and confidence. This approach evaluates both linguistic progress and the effective dimension of learning. Okay, thank you very much. And the next student is Grace Ospina. Grace Stephani Ospina Lara. Go ahead.
Thank you. So now, in this section, we use Vygotski's social cultural theory to understand how students learn a language. This theory explains that learning is not only an individual process, but also a social one. Students learn better when they interacted with others, especially with teachers and classmates. One important concept is scaffolding. This means that the teacher supports the students step by step until they can do the task independently. Also, language learning happens through communication, not only by memorizing grammar rules. From this perspective, interaction and speaking activities are essential to develop language skills. In our case, this is important because some students feel afraid to speak, so they don't participate actively. As a result, their learning process becomes limited. So, based in this theory, interaction is very important for learning. However, some students are afraid to speak, which limits these interactions. Therefore, it is necessary to create strategies that help students feel more confident. And now I will answer the following questions. Next slide, please. Thank you. First, for question A, I will propose an activity called role-based speaking task. This activity responds to the problem because students feel afraid to speak in front of others. In this activity, each student has a specific role, such as interviewer, speaker, or observer. This helps reduce anxiety because students focus on their role instead of worrying about making mistakes. Also, the activity provides structure so students know what to say and feel more confident. In this way, participation becomes more natural and less stressful. For question B, instead of only using breakout rooms, I will combine them with guide prompts using tools like Google Slides or Canva. Each group can have a visual guide with questions or examples to support the conversation. This helps reduce anxiety because students are not speaking without preparation. I would also include short audio recordings so students can listen to pronunciation before speaking. In this way, students feel more supported and confident. Finally, for question C, I would access not only participation, but also students' willingness to communicate. For example, I will observe if students try to express their ideas when even if they make mistakes. I will also include peer feedback, where students give simple comments to each other, such as I understood your idea or good pronunciation. Additionally, I will use short reflections, questions like, was I able to express my ideas? In this way, the evaluation focuses on communication, not only on accuracy. Thank you, Camila.
Okay, thank you very much, Grace. And this is the end of the presentation. We work in this presentation on the inbuilt session of the server. This correspond to class number 5, English level 1, B1. The topic of verb and participle verbs. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.